You've got to feel bad for mutants, discriminated against, persecuted, and forced to fight in their underwear.
X-Men.
As if that wasn't bad enough, now they're forced to fight under your control on the Sega Saturn. In X-Men Children of the Atom from 1995. This is the Japanese version. The American one was released a year later, based on the 1994 arcade machine from Capcom. When you get down to it, it's basically just Street Fighter 2 with the X-Men. And basically, when you get down to that, that's great. What's not to like about that? I loved this arcade machine back in the day, and what's really impressive about this version of the game is how damned good it looks on the Sega Saturn. This could be a Dreamcast or PlayStation 2 release. When you start off, you've got 10 different X-Men to choose from to fight. And like Street Fighter 2, each of them have their own characteristics. And while they're not direct clones of Street Fighter characters, I think that Psylocke plays a lot like Chun-Li, Colossus plays a lot like Zangief, and you can split hairs about the rest of them. They've got your standard attacks, special moves, and it's a very straightforward kick-ass 2D fighting game from Capcom that looks fantastic. Their special moves and attacks are, of course, all based upon their mutant powers as seen in the comic books and movies.
You win.
Subsequent to this release, the X-Men have appeared in many other fighting games, most notably the Marvel vs. Capcom series, which is pretty similar to this, but with a lot more bells and whistles. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 remains one of the greatest games released on the Dreamcast. This game can also be found for the PlayStation 1, and no matter what version you're interested in, they can be found on eBay, and they're not that cheap, but they're not ridiculously overpriced either. I should note that the excellent Marvel vs. Capcom 2 can be found on Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network. And as of this recording, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is on the horizon. The controls and gameplay on the Saturn work really well. It's very quick, very responsive. I'm playing this one with the Sega 3D controller, the one that came with Nights into Dreams, which I find works well for fighting games using the D-pad, not the analog stick. It doesn't work for this game. But as I said during the 3D controller review, the nice 6-button layout and comfortable feel of that controller work well for fighting games. And also, while we're here, note the backgrounds and the beautiful animations on the characters. It's a very impressive game for the Saturn. Any complaints I would have had, like not enough characters, were fixed in Marvel vs. Capcom. Certainly in the next one, where there's a lot of characters.
Real call. You win.
Anyway, I think it's time that they move beyond just well-known characters, and after playing the excellent Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, it opens my eyes to some new possibilities. A whole new line of fighting games. Marvel vs. Insert Obscurity. Here. Marvel vs. Gem and the Holograms. Marvel vs. Mask. Marvel vs. the guy sitting next to you in English class. What's his name? Tim? Can Tim fight Guile? I don't think so. Van Damme would totally kick his ass. So thanks again to Frank in California for another excellent donation, and I'll see you back here next time for another game. How about Marvel vs. Classic Game Room? Which would be an absolute bloodbath, as the X-Men would all fight each other over their petty differences, while Lord Carnage would just take Psylocke out for a drink. Don't wait up, Professor. She'll be home in the morning.
Black.